Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy. You know exactly who they are. You've seen the documentaries. You've seen the Netflix series. You've probably heard their names more times than you can count. Now say this one. Samuel Little. 70 confirmed murders. More than those 3 men combined. The FBI calls him the most prolific serial killer in American history. And the reason you don't know his name tells you everything about how this country decides whose life matters. Samuel Little was born in 1940 in rural Georgia. 6'3". Former boxer. Built like a weapon. For decades he drifted across the United States with no fixed address, no steady job, no ties to anywhere. Los Angeles, Miami, Louisville, Mississippi, Texas. He moved constantly, and that mobility was deliberate. Stay long enough to kill. Leave before anyone noticed. He was arrested dozens of times throughout his life, assault, rape, drug charges, and every single time, he walked. The system kept catching him for small things and completely missing the catastrophic thing underneath. He wasn't lucky. He was strategic. And he had chosen his victims very carefully. Little targeted women who were marginalized. Women experiencing homelessness. Women struggling with addiction. Women involved in sex work. Women who were less likely to be reported missing. Women whose deaths were less likely to be investigated. He strangled them with his bare hands. No weapon, which made forensic evidence harder to find. And because he never stayed in one place, there was no pattern for local investigators to see. A dead woman in California. Another in Mississippi 2 years later. Another in Ohio after that. Each case looked isolated. Nobody was connecting them because nobody was really looking. Dozens of his victims were never classified as homicides at all. They were written off as overdoses, accidents, natural causes, cases closed before they were ever really opened. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a systemic failure, a collective decision made over and over again that these women's lives didn't warrant urgency. Samuel Little understood that decision, and he built his entire operation around it. Little was arrested in Louisville on drug charges. Routine. But this time investigators ran his DNA and got hits on 3 cold case murders in Los Angeles. He was extradited, convicted in 2014, sentenced to life. And then he started talking. From his prison cell, Little began voluntarily confessing to murders going back decades. Not vague confessions, specific ones. He remembered faces, locations, what his victims were wearing, the exact streets where it happened. Detail that only the killer could know. Then he started drawing portraits of his victims from memory. Colored pencil sketches of women's faces he'd been carrying in his head for 30, 40 years. The FBI published the drawings. Some of them led directly to identifications. A family member saw a sketch on the news and recognized their sister. By 2018, the FBI had a full task force working through his confessions. The final confirmed count, 70 murders across 19 states over 35 years. Why did he confess? Investigators believe it wasn't remorse. Little had spent his entire life being ignored, dismissed, overlooked. In his final years, he finally had an audience. The confessions were a performance. He wanted to be recognized as the most prolific serial killer in American history. He got what he wanted. Samuel Little died in December 2020, 80 years old. No remorse. But here's what I want to leave you with. 13 of his confirmed victims still have no name. The FBI has their sketches on its website right now, portraits drawn by the man who killed them, which is maybe the strangest sentence in the history of American crime. These were real women, with lives and families and people who loved them. They were failed by a system that decided they weren't worth protecting, and then failed again by a historical record that can't even give them their names back. If you want to do something after watching this, go look at those sketches. Share them. Someone somewhere might recognize a face. Ted Bundy has 4 Netflix productions. Samuel Little has almost nothing. Ask yourself why. And drop it in the comments. Do you think Little is unknown because of who he was? Or because of who his victims were?